guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm in a little bit of a different setting. I'm in the same room. I'm just sitting in my chair. I'm doing how I got hired at Sephora, or how to get hired at Sephora, but mostly how I got hired at Sephora because I'm sure it's gonna be different for everyone. I have been hired at both Sephora inside JCPenney first and then a freestanding store. So I kind of, I've gone through my fair share of interviews to be employed with this company, and I kind of thought I would just share my experience with it. I will start off by saying that I had tried 2 previous times to get hired at a cosmetics store before Sephora. Both times I was shut down. The first time it was at Ulta, and I had a group interview, and then I never heard anything again after that. So I was like, okay. I don't know how much longer I waited, and then I noticed that the Clinique counter at Herberger's was hiring, and I hate makeup counters. I hate counters, but I wanted to do what I could do, whatever that was to get my foot in the door of like the beauty industry, whether it was starting at a cosmetic counter or not. For one, I hate the overall atmosphere of cosmetic counters. I'm sorry if you work at one. I don't like the feeling of being suffocated to purchase something. So for one, I didn't want to be that pushy salesperson, and 2, they are a sales driven company, which I mean everything is, but like an individual sales commission. I wasn't about that life, but I applied. I had a first interview with, I think it was the overall store manager, and that was a one-on-one, and then I also met the Clinique counter manager, and then I had a second interview which was on the phone, and I didn't hear anything back ever again. So I was like, okay, well, rejection is me, so I'm not even gonna try anymore. Like, what's the point? Because I don't want to work at a counter, and obviously Ulta doesn't want to hire me, and in Rapid City, South Dakota, you were very limited to where you could work if you wanted to be in like the beauty industry. Cut forward however many months, I was sitting there reading online, they were shutting down our JCPenney. They were gonna do like $1 million remodeling, and they were like temporarily placing JCPenney in another location. So they were doing a huge revamp of JCPenney, and the article also stated that they were bringing in a Sephora inside JCPenney, and I was like, what? My friend Jaden, she had convinced me to stop being such a little bitch and to just apply. I was like, okay, maybe. I'm pretty sure I applied on Indeed.com. I was stalking Indeed.com, and then I noticed that there were product consultant positions available. So I applied with no hopes. Cut forward 2 days, I had a message asking if I could come in for a group interview, and I was like, if you're anything like me, you have anxiety over everything when it comes to situations like these. Like, I want to be fully prepared. I don't want any freaking surprises during my interview. I did everything. I YouTubed everything. I glass-doored everything. Whatever you can think of. I like read forums and stuff, like what to look for, like what it was gonna be like. My group interview was with 2 other girls. There was 3 of us, so 2 other girls, and one of them ended up getting hired with me, so that was really cool. We went in, and our first bit was a teamwork exercise to see how you would work together. I need to like reverse. I had no experience with cosmetics. I'd been in food service industry since I was 13 years old. I am 26 now. I had no prior experience. I was basically just an avid YouTube watcher, and I just loved makeup. So anyway, going to the interview, there's all these blocks, different colored blocks, and I'm not gonna explain that situation because I mean, you need to have like a little bit of surprises when you go in there if this happens to you. But it's basically just like a building block exercise to see how you work with other people. It was hard, but it was actually kind of fun. I don't know if that's weird. I think it's just because the girls I was with made it really easy to do. Like, it wasn't like stressful. They were really cool. After that, we get taken downstairs, and since there's no Sephora yet, the beauty manager brought me over to an area of clothing in JCPenney and was like, your situation is, your client is a middle-aged woman who wanted to start working out again. And I was like, okay. She put me in the women's fitness section, like the clothing wear, and was like, you have 20 minutes to educate yourself on the products, and I'm going to send down the education lead, and you are going to sell her these products for 4 minutes. And I was like, what? I had no prior retail experience, none. So I was like, okay, sure. I literally just like read the tags on everything to see like what materials did what. I educated myself on each product for 20 minutes, sold them to this education lead for 4 minutes, And luckily she had a really bubbly personality, so it like wasn't nerve-wracking. I mean, it was, because it's me, but it was like a lot more easygoing than I thought it was going to be. Then I went upstairs, back upstairs, and I had a one-on-one interview with the manager, the beauty manager. And I know that like my other coworker, her experience was a little bit different. She had a one-on-one interview before the group interview. So all of mine was meshed into one day. So I go up, I do my one-on-one interview, and it's very basic questions like, why Sephora? Why would you be a good fit? Why do you want to work here? Stuff like that. And I can tell you one thing, do not tell them you want to work at Sephora because you love makeup. You need to have a really good answer and like mean it. Like, don't make something up because you think it's what they want to hear. Me, I found what made me feel confident and what made me feel good about myself, and I always wanted to kind of push that onto other women and like help them, or men, help them find out what made them confident so that they felt good about themselves. So that's kind of what I put into my answer. But yeah, it was very basic questions, and she was just kind of getting to know me, asked about like my prior work experience and stuff. At the end of that, she offered me the job as a product consultant part-time. We ended up, since it was a new store, this was a new store, so I know it's gonna be different than if it's an existing store, but it was about a month and a half before the store opened when I got hired. We had JCPenney training, so just training with JCPenney because it is a part of that company, and then we had a week of like new store opening training where they brought someone, well, two someones in, and we basically learned about all the brands we were selling, all of their hero products, which are the products that they're known for. It was a lot of information in 6 days, 7 days, and then we did practicing like mini makeovers. That part was like terrifying to me because it was kind of like acting, and that's not what I do. So, and then we did a week of merchandising. So when you're in a new store, you set up your entire store top to bottom, products on the shelves, where they go, setting up like the little compartments where each lipstick slides into. It was a lot of freaking work. Then we opened. Boom, we're open. We're product consultants. Life is great. We're selling makeup. So then cut forward 6 months. It's August, and I am putting in my 2 weeks notice because I was moving to Nevada. And so I had started putting in applications at the beginning of August. So I could have transferred within the Sephora inside JCPenney company. I could have had like asked my boss to try to get me transferred to another Sephora inside JCPenney here in Vegas, but I was kind of over the small store. I was ready to like spread my wings and be like a little bit more challenged and stuff. So I was like, well, I'll just do the process all over again and try to get hired at a freestanding store. I put in 2 applications per freestanding store, at least 2 applications per freestanding store here in Vegas, and I think there are 6. So I put in 12 applications right at the bat, and then I went through, I put in 1 for cash wrap and I put in 1 for color. SIJCPs, you do everything. You do cash wrap, you do skincare, you do fragrance, you do color. But at freestanding stores, you're kind of in an area. You're either cash wrap, skincare, fragrance, or color. I applied for color and cash wrap because those were the 2 that I was like the most confident with. And then when I went back through, I went to see if there were any seasonal color or cash wrap, so I put in more. Then I was here for like 1 more week before I heard back from the one that I'm working at now. I heard back about a week after I was here, and they asked if I'd come in for a group interview, and I was like, yes! It might have been like a week. I think it was like a week before I was gonna have that interview, about 5 or 6 days maybe. Mentally prepare myself, YouTube everything, Glassdoor everything, because that's what I do. And I go in to my group interview wearing all black. I wore all black to every interview that I had. So like my SIJCP interview, and then I had 3 interviews here for the freestanding store. Wore all black. I don't think it's technically a requirement, but all black is the uniform or the costume, so why not? And of course, wear makeup that makes it look like you know how to do makeup, especially if you're applying for color. Because I remember when I had my interview at Ulta, there was a girl in there that was wearing like BB cream, and that was it. And I was like, what? So I go in for my first group interview with 3 other girls. So there was 4 of us total. It was with the color specialist, and very broad, basic questions. Like if your past employer could describe you in one word, what would it be? But it was just very basic, like nothing that was going to make you think too hard. Like not a very easy and very relaxed. I did not think that I was gonna go anywhere because I had one girl in there, worked at a freestanding Sephora in Culver City and had like a bomb personality, and I was like, she's got it. And then the next girl who I actually got hired with, she was just this adorable little thing with fleeky makeup, and she was working at Macy's Impulse, and I was like, she got it. And then the next girl went to school for makeup and hair, and she was currently doing hair and makeup at one of the hair places in the mall. So I was like, okay, and she had a portfolio, so I was like, I'm screwed. Then a couple days later, the next day maybe, I got a call that I was going to a second interview. It's the skincare specialist, and she asked me to come back to do a demo and a one-on-one interview with her. So I was like, okay, I'm nervous. It was only like 2 or 3 days between my first and my second interview. It was really quick. So I go in, and first of all, I start off with a demo. I have to do a smoky eye on her, and it was really easy because she had really pretty blue eyes, and I like always gravitate towards doing like a really warm smoky eye. So do that on her, treat her like a client, treat her like you would if it was a client at Sephora. Just kidding. There was a one-on-one first and then the demo. So anyway, we did all of that after we did a one-on-one, which was just more in-depth questions from the first interview. It was a lot of referring back to like my experience at Sephora inside JCPenney. So I mean, I don't know what it would be like for you if you didn't have experience already. They're questions kind of like how you would handle certain situations, I guess. So like one specific one that I was asked would be like, if a client with severe cystic acne came in looking for a full coverage foundation, what would you do? Of course, you would find them that full coverage foundation, but if they do bring up why they're trying to find a full coverage foundation, so if they go like, oh, it's because I really want to cover my bad blemishes, whatever, always try to recommend skincare to help them out, because if you have like a flawless base, your makeup will look so much better on top. So I was like, I would get her that full coverage foundation, but I would also tell her like, let me show you a couple of products from skincare that would try to help clear that up, because once you have a clear base, your makeup will just go on so much better. So like kind of getting to the root of why they need, what they came in for. Kind of questions like that. Like you just don't overthink it. It's nothing that was like hard. Then I'm done with my second interview. Cut forward, I would say it was probably like maybe 4 or 5 days, and I had a missed call from a 702 number, which is Vegas, and then I had a voicemail from that same number, and I also had a text from my coworker who I used as a reference, a coworker from Sephora inside JCPenney, the one I actually got hired with. I used her as a reference, and I had a text from her saying, guess who just called me, smiley face, and I was like, what? She asked me to come back for a third interview and be with the store director. And so it was probably like another week. It was a long time before that third interview. But I go in for my third interview, and it's a really chill conversation. Like I think it was just kind of like her getting a feel for my personality, since I'd already gone through the first two. It just was like, it just seemed like she was just trying to make sure that like my personality would be a good fit with like the crew that's already there and everything. She didn't really ask a whole lot of questions. She kind of like, you know, why Sephora? Why do you think you'd be good for us? Again, pretty easy questions to answer. And then it was just really conversational. Like I asked her what got her into being a store director for Sephora, and I usually never come prepared with questions. I didn't even come prepared with questions, to be honest. But then I remembered, like, she would say something about events, and I'd be like, oh, how do events work here? Because they were so much different at Sephora inside JCPenney than they were there. And then she started talking about classes, and like classes weren't offered at my SIJCP, so I was like, tell me how classes work. What are these? And it was just really easy to keep a conversation going, like when you have questions, especially when you get that far in and you really kind of want to like be as prepared as you can. After all that was over, she finally offered me the position in core color. So I was not a seasonal position, which was super great because I didn't want to go through the process of trying to get hired on part-time or full-time. And I was so happy. It's definitely different from a freestanding to an SIJCP. Like if you are like obsessed with beauty, all things beauty related, makeup, anything, and you want to get your foot in the door, I think Sephora is a great place. They have great values, and I mean, there's not a lot you can like ask for. I mean, you're working with makeup all day, every day, and you're helping clients, and what more do you want? That is my experience with getting hired at Sephora twice within 1 year, actually. I felt pretty accomplished. I felt pretty proud of myself for getting hired twice because I was so upset before I applied the first time. I was like, I'm not gonna get it. Like, I am the face of rejection. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's all I really have to say. If I forget to say anything, I will leave it down in the description box below. If you have any questions, like if I left something out, which I probably did because I did not like note anything, I just went off the top of my head for this video. So if I left anything out and you have a question about it, go ahead and leave it down below and I will definitely answer you. Any questions you have. I'm an open book, guys. Let me know your biggest questions about getting hired at Sephora, what it's like. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And you know, if you want to follow me on my other social media, you totally can. I have Instagram and Twitter. Both of those are at ChelseaLouder. And then I have Facebook and Snapchat, which are CNLouder. So come check me out on those platforms if you wish to. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!